I'm Tara Kinden. I work with frequency at a level where it actually changes lives. So, in your body, in your nervous system, in how women are beginning to lead themselves more powerfully. And right now, frequency is being thrown around everywhere. But most of what I'm seeing is more mind led, effort based, and disconnection from the body. So I'm here to change that. This new moon is absolutely not about just setting intentions. It is not about manifestation. It's going to be more about how your system is going to hold on to this energy and whether you're leading it or you're being run by it. So let's talk about what's happening in the field. All right, so a couple things today. I'm going to show you the charts for the human design, the charts for the astrology, but that is not the focal point. The focal point today is really about frequency and walking into the depths of like, what does frequency even mean? Because I think the term frequency is being thrown out a lot lately. So let me just break this down for you. It's a measurement. So it's measured in hertz, where 1 hertz equals 1 occurrence per sound. So for example, if you're looking at measuring heartbeats, we have 60 beats per minute. That's a frequency of 60 beats per minute, or 1 beat per second, which physicists call 1 hertz. Now, when I look at the spiritual definition, there's like quite a few different definitions for frequency based on like vibrational energy. And this is where we're going to get really clear today because again, out there in the collective, there's this talk around 5D and like us going off into different planes. Whilst that is all good. If that's your vibe, that's your vibe. But we are spiritual beings having a physical experience here on this earth. So we still need to pay our bills. We still need to find ways to exchange, whether like our energetic exchange through money, like we work somewhere, we make some money, like you have to pay your bills. So however you're doing that at this point, I want to bring this down to earth for people, because a lot of this conversation around manifesting under these moons, and I've been guilty of doing this as well, but like reality is this, we are living here on this planet, and how do we engage our energy with the world around us, with other people, with wherever we're putting our energy, and without going into like all the definitions of law of attraction, what's a higher frequency versus a lower frequency? How do you raise your frequency? If everything is energy and energy is everything, and we're quantum physically exchanging our energy with everything around us. All right, well, how is this actually affecting us? That's what I want to talk about today. And how is this new moon affecting your energy and your vitality? All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. Now, number one, I always love to pull a Sabian symbol for the moon that we're in. This new moon is at 28 degrees. Okay, so then we round up to 29. This is a woman reading tea leaves. That's the actual Sabian symbol. Okay, she's reading tea leaves. This is not about a prediction. It's not about interpretation. The tea leaves actually create a pattern. So it's not like magical, but whoever is reading those tea leaves is giving you their interpretation of what they mean. So this is, again, something external. We're going to keep touching on this today. All right. So they can show you what's forming kind of before it's obvious. Like you may not see it. So if we're going deeper into this, the symbolism of a tea reader during this new moon is that it's teaching us perception. And this symbol is literally about reading the subtle information for yourself, not having someone else do it. This moon is asking you to pay attention and to notice before taking action. This moon is actually literally about reading the field. And so if you've been following me on Facebook, I'm doing these new messages from the field where I'm just like pulling in the information that's coming in from the field. And this is my interpretation of it, right? And I'm not telling you what it is. I'm saying like, here's the information. Now, how does this feel for you? What are you going to do with the information that's showing up today? Okay. So when we're looking at this word frequency, I don't want to lose you because it is kind of like a wooey topic. And depending on who's talking about it, it can be very confusing. So It's not abstract. It's a straight up measurement, and it's how information moves between us and the world around us. Frequency is about the quality of the energy. It's the resonance of when things are actually in alignment. And coherence is when we have energy that flows cleanly without any weird friction. Maybe I shouldn't use the word weird, but you know what I mean. All right. So here's an example of how this shows up. You know, when you're having a great conversation with somebody and you get really pumped and you lean in because you're like, yes, tell me more. You feel in resonance with someone. There is coherent energy there. But when you lean away from someone, there is incoherence. There's a little bit of static in the field, and you feel the difference of that. Whether or not you can put words on it, it is just what it is, and you can notice the feeling. It's like when you're feeling really energized and pumped up versus when you're feeling depleted or tired. You know the difference. You can feel it, whether you pay attention to it. Now that's two other things, but your body already understands frequency at that feeling level sometimes before the mind has a chance to catch up. You talk about heart coherence, same thing. But let's actually talk about something fun and unique, which is your beautiful biofield. Well, what the hell is a biofield? People have mentioned it as an aura, okay? The energy that lives outside of the body. And this is what we're bumping into. We're constantly bumping into people's fields, and your field is bumping into other people's fields. So that is the biofield, and more and more and more and more, the conversation is starting to evolve, and we're learning more. And there's a curiosity about, like, well, is the biofield actually part of our anatomy? If you ask me, I'm like, yes, definitely. Especially working in people's fields, I'm like, that is part of your body. You know, there is, yes, you can't see it. And I think sometimes when we can't see things, you know, it's hard to believe that it's true. So anyways, let's go into this. The biofield is literally your interface between you and everything else. You receive information through it before your brain has time to even contemplate or compute what just happened. Before the emotions and before any reactions, your biofield hits it and then it vibrates in. So your body, think of it as this receiver. You guys remember, and some of you who watch this may be too young for this, but there was like those old C-band dishes. They were these ginormous satellite dishes that you could use to watch TV. And our bodies are kind of like this big receiver, open to receiving all this information. However, it's being, you know, transmitted or transmuted. You're receiving it, okay? So the field picks up that signal first, and then your mind makes something about it. Okay, so most people override this piece instead of actually listening, because there will be things that happen to your body. But because most of us are very disconnected from our physicality, and there's a reason for that. So as I continue to go on, like in new videos, I'm going to start explaining this more and more and more. But just basically, your field receives it before your mind receives it. You feel things before you can make sense of it. If we're living in this super loud world, we have so much information, overstimulation, constant disruption in our field. People are exhausted, and it's not because you're weak and you don't know how to manage your energy most of the time. It's because, like, we have a lot going on in our field and it's too much to process. Maybe too much is coming into you, and we don't want you to be able to feel like you got to escape. And a lot of people are escaping right now. Hence, like, talking about all this escapism stuff. This is also Neptune in Pisces, but we chose to be here, right? In these bodies, in these relationships, in the responsibilities that we have. So we need better reception. We don't need more input. We need to be able to read what's coming in. And so this is about messages from the field and reading those messages that you're receiving through the body before the mind, okay? So how do we keep our biofield clean? Energetic hygiene. What is energetic hygiene? Like, this is where we're talking about not putting up more protection, because you've got a lot of protection already, right? People put bubbles around themselves. They put themselves in like white eggs or white cones or whatever. But think about it this way. When you put up these blocks, or, you know, you put yourself in a bubble, you're also not letting things in or out. So if you're working on all this beautiful energy and vitality, it's bumping up against your egg. It's not getting out. So what we want to think about maybe instead of, this is something to contemplate. You don't have to do it, but here's what I do. Envision a golden filter, like a sieve, like this big sieve, that's around you. And what it does is it allows beautiful energy to go out, and it allows only what you want, what feels good to come back through it. Everything else sticks to the outside of the filter. So it's not that you're blocking yourself off from receiving. It's just that you're filtering. So whatever the crap coming through that you don't actually need, that isn't good for you, when you call back your vital force, life force energy, it sticks to the outside of this sieve, filter, whatever you want to call it. And that is somewhat magical because you're not trying to get rid of anything. You're not trying to, cut things off, close things off. We're just saying, hey, now that that's on the filter, please send that back to wherever it came from. That's not mine and I don't need it. Starting to think about your energy a little bit more in this way can be actually quite liberating, because closing yourself off is not helpful. It just isn't. And so right now, as I'm beginning to bring in this new moon energy and what it's bringing in for us, we have 5 planets in the gate 60. The gate 60 is about conservation and resourcefulness. This is not about letting things, and I'm going to share this chart with you. As I'm recording this, it is Sunday. Sunday is the sun's day. Sun is right here, 28 degrees. This is the new moon snapshot. Now that moon moved through all of these. So it hit Juno, the goddess of partnership. It hit Mars. It hit Mercury. Now it's hitting the sun. Then it's going to hit Venus. Then it's going to hit Pluto. And then it's going to hit Vesta. But whilst all of these guys are hanging here in this particular gate, not Juno per se, but all of these guys, and even Venus is included in this mix, even though she's out of sign. This is about that conservation. So really being aware of where the heck is our energy going and conserving. So calling back. And this is another practice that you may want to try, and let that filter be there to keep out anything that is just not yours. Not yours. A lot of stuff that you are holding on to right now, it isn't yours. So think about this practice of, I now call all of my energy back home. And some of you may feel really good putting your hand on your heart, your hand on your sacral, and you calling your energy back home to you. And even think about like all this vitality returning, these tendrils, these fire, elements coming back to your heart fire, your heart desire. And what that feels like. Don't think about it. Feel about it. What does it feel like for your energy to return to you? Because when you think about this opposition to the part of fortune when the new moon hits, it's the blessing. Like part of fortune conjunct Jupiter opposite this whole stellium is like the gift. So what is the gift? The gift is in returning to your home base. Cancer is about our home base. Cancer is about our intuition. Cancer is about how we intuit, interpret, how we feel about things. And this can be in your body and in your home. All of the things. And that's really important. Okay, so this is a lot of information that you already feel. You just don't know maybe what to do with it. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to go too in the weeds on all of the astrology because there's lots of other videos out there showing you all the different things on the astrology. But some of the key points here that I thought were really important for you to kind of land it in your body, and to understand that the moon is out of bounds during this moon, okay? So that Sabian symbol being sort of the spine of this whole moon, interpreting the energy as the tea leaf reader you are. The moon is out of bounds. And when the moon is out of bounds, she's operating outside of her normal limits. She does not want to follow rules, and she is way out of bounds, right? She does not respond well to, here's what you should be doing. She's like, no, thank you. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to be doing. And we have a ton of earth in the chart. A ton of earth is about grounding. It's about coming into the body, being on this physical plane and this physical planet. This is not a mental moon. This is about embodiment, safety, containment, and how to really feel at home in yourself. Okay, this is intuitive intelligence grounded in the reality of where we are. Mercury also is like a massively main player in this, and he is a big deal because he's involved with Uranus, with Saturn, and with Mars. So he's conjunct Mars, he's making a sextile to Saturn, and he's trining Uranus, if you really wanted to know. So Mercury and Mars are bringing this urgency and activation. I've been meaning to record this video for you for a while, but I just have been doing other things. So I'm like, okay, I got to get this done today. And I had the motivation and the inspiration to finally get it done. So Mercury is sextiling Saturn, and that's bringing in that element of discernment and of the structure, right? We need the structure. Mercury trining Uranus brings down those insights and our downloads. So this is that sudden drop in of knowingness. And Mercury is about tuning into the frequency. Think about Uranus and Neptune being in Pisces, and this element of our beautiful Mercury. So Mercury's making a sextile over to Saturn and Neptune. Neptune being the higher mind, right? The universal mind. And then there's Mercury, who is able to connect to and is making connection to. It's like you're hearing information outside of yourself, but you're able to bring it in and drop it in and let it come in and down into the body. With Mercury being in Capricorn, he wants to bring it in and down. So you want to be aware of where you're not letting things come all the way in and down. One of the other fascinating things I find about this particular chart is Uranus is making a square to Pallas Athena. That's a challenge, but it's also an invitation. Pallas is about strategy, pattern recognition, and wisdom. And Uranus, it disrupts outdated strategies. So sit with that for a second, because I think there's a moment where these old ways that we've been making decisions are no longer working. Like all these mental strategies are not working like they once did. And this is where it's really important to get back into the body. So forcing clarity, if you're like, I don't know, I'm not clear, I don't know where I'm going, you don't have to be clear here. It's more like clarity in the field. So what is the perceptions? What's the pattern recognition? What is your field awareness, right? And the old playbook, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. You've heard this before, but the field is the new strategy. I think this is why the cleaner you can get in your field, the more you're receiving, and the clearer the receivership, obviously the cleaner the channel, the clearer the receivership. So your moon is all about our emotional self. So when this hits, this moon is being supported. It's being supported by Saturn. It's being supported by Neptune. It's being supported by Uranus, and it's also being supported by Black Moon Lilith. So she's there being like, yeah, these things don't work. She's bringing you the honesty without you needing to betray yourself and your energy. So think about Saturn giving us that containment. Think about Neptune opening up our intuition, and think about Uranus bringing bolts of insights through. That's the sense of being supported with what's real, without losing your footing. So it's like you're not floating off into the clouds if you are paying attention to your body. That's why I opened this whole thing with frequency. So again, you remember I mentioned there was 5 planets in gate 60. So we've got the sun, we have the moon, we have Mercury, we have Venus, and we have Mars. Gate 60, gate 60, gate 60. Where's gate 60? It's down here off the root center. Think about your adrenals working overtime. And so if you feel like your adrenals are working overtime, what are you going to do to bring them back online? Rest. That's the only way. Rest. And we have this aversion to rest because we feel like if we're resting, we're being lazy. And I know I'm talking to those of you who really deeply understand this, that you've been over giving, over extending, over everything. I just feel like I lost internet, but maybe that's why I needed to repeat this. So if I lost internet I feel like it glitched I don't actually know. So I'm going to do this again. The idea that if you've been that person who's just felt like you've had to give more than you've been able to receive, I'm asking you to receive. I'm asking you to open up to your receiver to allow the field to speak to you. That won't be easy for everyone, but it's an opportunity, right? We want to really watch with this gate here too, to not fear the loss, like, because to not let the fear of loss overwhelm your system, okay? Because you are way more resourceful than you know, and to learn to find what is working and focus your energy on that, okay? Instead of looking at the loss and disruption, because that is, I mean, look, this is where people can go very easily right now, because there is a lot of loss, there is a lot of fear. We're being inundated with the amount of chaos and loss and all of that kind of stuff. So it in the lowest energy of the gate 60, it panics about loss. In its highest activation, it gets very focused and very wise about what is actually working, and it puts the energy there. So that's what I'm hoping you get from this, right? This is exactly the moment, you know, we are all in. No one is not here, okay? There is so much disruption, so much loss, so much change. The question you want to ask yourself is like, where am I leaking energy right now? Where am I burning myself out trying to do something that just, you know, you're up against it, right? And where you can redirect that wasted focus. I don't want to say wasted, but if you feel like you're wasting energy, then you are wasting energy. So switching into something that's going to feel good is going to help you realign with those adrenals and that adrenal energy so that you feel more resourced. You know, if you're exhausted, you aren't resourced. And if you're leaking energy, you could be close to collapse. We don't want that. We want you to come in strong into the body. All right, the other piece here is the earth is sitting in gate 56, which is about expansion through storytelling. The earth is where we refuel ourselves. So during this time, how you're going to refuel your energy is sharing stories that are going to shape your new reality. Okay? What do you want to amplify? Because your energy is going to amplify that out, whatever it is you're focusing on. What's the story you want to feed, right? Where are you feeling depleted? Where are you feeling contracted? You want to come from this beautiful place of expansion and be curious about what a new narrative could be by not bypassing the reality of where you actually are. Now we have a lot of openness in the chart, which is also about high receptivity. So this is the openness in the head, the openness in the ajna, the throat, the G, the spleen. This is about being very receptive right now. You are picking up a lot of energy and information. So your thoughts, your emotions, your fears, what you're identifying with, the instincts that you're having may not be yours if your energetic hygiene isn't clean. Okay, this is why it's even more important to double down on cleaning the field and the channel. So the open centers amplify what it's taking in. And if you're taking it in from everyone and everything, I'm going to go back to the beginning where I talked about frequency and how you lean into things and that feels really juicy and good. And when you lean away. So I want to ask you this question: when you're on your phone and you're doom scrolling, how does that make you feel? If it doesn't feel good, you might need to put that away. If you're talking to family members and they're talking about the same things or things over and over again and you're like, ugh, and you start to feel sick about it, that's a sign. So pay attention to these subtle details because you are already receiving so much information. Think of it like a catcher's glove. You're catching all this stuff. It's like, what do you do with it? You want to keep it in the glove or you want to get rid of it, right? Get rid of it if you feel like you need to get rid of it. Take a break from it. Move it away. Here's the power. Here's where our power comes from. So we have a definition in the root, the sacral, the will, and the emotional solar plexus. There is pressure here. There is life force here. There is emotional energy here. Emotional energy brings creative opportunities. We have willpower here. So there is energy to move it forward if you can align authentically and in integrity with where you want to go. So do not make goals that are not in integrity for you and that you do not have the resourcefulness. And by resourcefulness, that you aren't going to burn yourself trying to get to that goal. That's really important. If you are, obsessed with setting goals, because Capricorn energy drives us all to want to start something new, even though we haven't hit the new year yet, according to the Chinese New Year. And that's kind of where things are going to get going, I think, for all of us this year. So the important thing to do over these next couple of weeks is to harness your energy, really go into you. All right, so Saturn in gate 36, which he's been here for a while. We've all been feeling this. This is the emotional solar plexus energy. This is the emotional experience. If you haven't been feeling the rainbow of emotions that you've been experiencing, because we've all been feeling all of these things and we don't know what to do with them because we're not used to them. Some of you are, some of you aren't. This is about emotional maturity, and that isn't always easy when you're not used to feeling the rainbow of emotions. So, how do you feel deeply? How do you allow yourself to feel more deeply without letting yourself be hijacked by those emotions, right? And to feel volatile, to sustain your vision without feeling like you have to force the outcome. And how can you allow more miracles to emerge through your emotional alignment with the creative source? This is what we're trying to do right now, is really align with the creative source. What brings us joy? What brings us pleasure? What brings us, happiness and bliss and what feels really good? Some of us are so disconnected from that. Machines don't feel. You are a human being having a human experience with a rainbow of emotions, and they're there for a reason. We're not meant to not feel. We're not meant to be, right? You're not meant to be AI. You're meant to feel and have all the range of emotions. That's what makes you a highly creative and potent being. That will be what helps us stand out in a crowd. This video ain't AI, friends. Just saying. This matters. It matters right now. Okay, so using your emotional power in a really wise way, right? Don't suppress it, but also don't let it run the show. You're not meant to be an emotional basket case. You're meant to be able to feel your feels and use those feelings to do something. Okay, outer planets. So Neptune, Uranus, Pluto are all in the same gates they've been for a while, so I'm not talking about them. They are not making any sudden shifts over this new moon, but they've been ongoingly recalibrating our vibes, and that is, it will begin to reveal itself as they continue to shift forward. But it's conscious, we're becoming far more conscious about what they've been teaching us. New levels of awareness coming in. So just to close out on the human design piece and come back to you guys, is that you want to be in resourcefulness over burnout, conservation over collapse, discernment over overwhelm, expand through conscious storytelling, emotional alignment before action. And this all ties back to how you read your field. How am I reading the field? How am I reacting? How am I, we have a lot of things hanging out, sitting out in our fields, and that is something we need to learn how to navigate. Energetic hygiene, again, your frequency, all of this matters. My biggest goal is to really create, frequency-led leadHERship, where you lead yourself through understanding your own field and that you do not get confused as easily as everyone else gets confused. If you're curious about, well, okay, I understand. I mentally understand what she's saying, but I'm not sure if I'm reading the field or not, right? this takes a little bit of practice. It takes awareness. It takes slowing down. It takes breathing into, all right, whew, okay, I just felt this thing, like, not trying to figure out what it means, but trying to feel about what it means for you. If you get certain things happen to you, maybe you get goosebumps and that's your intuition being like, yes, this is like right on point. Maybe you get a feeling of anxiety or pit in your stomach or whatever like this when it's a hard no for you. Learning how to read that, learning how to read your field, because I can give you a ton of interpretations of what I notice. So when a client comes in for a biofield tuning session or a reading, I sit with them first. I let their body speak to me. I meet them where they're at. There's something really beautiful about being able to meet someone's system where it's at without pushing it, without re-traumatizing it, especially if you've got things sitting in your field that are traumatizing. We all have stuff in our field that is creating dissonance. And the goal with all the work that I've been doing, especially with the tuning forks, especially with the field work, the energetic hygiene, and understanding frequency, it is about like, okay, well, when we can reintegrate some of the things that have been hanging out in our field for the 40 years you've been on this planet, 30, 50, 60, whatever it is. And I've worked with 14-year-olds up to 82, I think was my oldest client. So everyone has stuff, no matter how young, no matter how old. We all have things that sit in our fields. And this is an ongoing conversation because it's a newer conversation. But if you start to appreciate more of your biofield and understand that your biofield has messages for you that you begin to listen and pay attention to, there is some true magic and healing that can happen here. We can unfreeze parts of your being, which brings more vitality. That helps you feel more alive. So, having said all of that, my friends, I just want you to come back home to yourself. Remember who you are. Remember who you came here to be. And for those of you who love cards, let's just do a little card pull before I set you loose on the world, because I know some of you really love this. So for everybody else, we are complete now. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment. Let me know how this resonates. Let me know how you read your field. Let me know if that analogy of the Sabian symbol resonated with you. Like, yeah, ooh, I get that. And sometimes we defer our power to other people being like, okay, you tell me what my field is telling me. It's like, actually, you already know. You just have to feel it. And then allow the things to come through to you. Once your awareness expands, once your field expands, you begin to intuitively understand things in a new way at a different level. All right. First card up is the timing card. Yeah, we can't rush timing. It is what it is. I'd love to rush timing. I always joke that if there were a couple cards that I could burn in this deck, it would be the timing card and the patience card, because they're two things I struggle with. The be free. Be free. Get yourself out of the box that you maybe have found yourself in, of what you think is true, and feel into more of what you feel could be possible. And yet, inner child, I think we're all dealing with old things hanging out in our field from many, many, many years and moons ago, that it's, oh, yeah, okay. It shows up in the most unexpected ways. All right, everyone, have a beautiful new moon. Take care, everyone. Until next time.